So before I get into this video, I'd like to point out that I actually made this intro to this video after I made the video. And I can calm myself down very quickly. It's like if an attractive female walks into the room when someone's behaving one way and they shift their behavior. Okay, all of a sudden, at the drop of a hat. Now why? Well, that didn't happen here. What happened here is I felt the need to calm down, and I calmed down. I know that I'm in my car with my windows up at a fast food restaurant, in the parking lot rather, of the fast food restaurant, and I know that it's not wise to let yourself be angry in public, what have you, but it's also not wise to make 100 videos while you're being fumed and provoked, okay, and to, in terms of to make one video. It's not wise to make 100 videos to make one video, because you keep doing it again until you're calm when you make it. Now, what I've proven definitively time and time again is that I've been mad many times, thousands and thousands and thousands of times in my life, and I've said things that you might see as controversial, but they always make sense. Every time I've gotten angry and yelled, it was always from wisdom. Okay. We see, for example, in the Bible, in Psalm 26:5, it says, I abhor the assembly of evildoers and refuse to sit with the wicked, right? He abhors them. When you're angry and you really hate something, you're likely to yell if people fume you and provoke you. So what? What you don't see happening with me, but you see happening with tons of other people who feel a lot less anger than I do. They think a lot less deeply than I do. And as a result, they don't have discipline. It's in their American cultures. Jocks beat their wives all the time. Skaters, rockers, even emos. Domestic violence is common and it's spread out. Gangsters, bikers, businessmen, what have you. You don't see me beating up females. You don't see me beating up anybody. There's several million people who are incarcerated in America. I'm not one of them. I have no criminal record. I've never been I've never been convicted of a violent crime ever. And I'm 43 years old. If I'm still alive in September, I'll be 44 years old. I've been provoked and persecuted with 23 witnesses for years. I have the utmost discipline, and I take pride in that discipline. Very straightforward. The burden of proof is on the state to prove that 23 witnesses mean nothing. To prove that my logical interpretation of the Bible magically reflects something it doesn't, which is mental illness. They cannot do that. The state is guilty of trying to inspire people to be envy of the wicked. Proverbs 24:1, do not envy the wicked, do not desire their company. For their hearts plot violence and their mouths talk about making evil, making trouble, rather. Plot violence through proxy, plot violence through those who they're yoked to, what have you. Like a wife being married to a mass murdering corporatist. Her heart plots to be complicit with that violence, to be part of it, to be yoked to it, to be part and partial, to benefit from it. That's why it says, do not envy the wicked, do not desire their company, because you'll also be part and partial to it when their hearts plot violence and their mouths talk about making trouble. Pretty straightforward. So when you consider the circumstances and me being angry when I'm provoked, we're talking about things that are very logical, or I'm talking about things that are very logical, and I'm talking about wisdom and the wise response. If somebody comes at you with a crowbar, okay, and you pick up a rock and beat him to a swing and smack him across the face real hard and keep smacking him until he's out cold, was it wrong? No. Someone tries to pour acid in your face, okay, and you kick him in the face first with cowboy boots on or something, and it knocks him out cold. Were you wrong? No. Somebody charges at you with a sword and you pull out a gun and you shoot them. Were you wrong? No. Somebody fumes your house while a bunch of guys are standing outside that he's hired with clubs and bars and guns, and you come out and you just lay everyone down like a duck or like ducks. Were you wrong? No. If you know they're actually plotting to do that and people are playing stupid and they're fuming you and provoking you even while you're making the video and playing dumb about the technologies, are you wrong to call them names? Are you wrong to point out that you could beat them in single combat if you could? No. Does that make you a threat to other people? No. The state cannot meet the burden of proof when it comes to this. And I even pointed out many times what is going on here and explained why it is fair and square and not 5150 material for me to explain it the way that I do. Pretty straightforward. I'm sure there are countless police officers that would concede my point if they weren't given orders to play stupid or something, because it's open and shut. I have at least one psychologist on record agreeing with me that there's nothing wrong with me. On top of that, I've taken tests on the internet, which are very similar to what the doctors would ask, because the doctors just go on what you say anyway. They say, do you hallucinate? Okay, you have trouble sleeping. Do you have anxiety? Do you feel depressed? They just ask you the same questions the internet do. And I passed those tests with flying colors. Now beware, they try to make tests that are more complex than that. They try to make tests that are tricky, so you're answering one way, okay, when you think you're answering another. And when they respond to that, they show me this test, and it was this very long, complex test where the questions are tricky, and they're trick questions. And I said, fuck you, I'm not taking that test. It's like I'm not going to the fucking Klan for a psychiatrist. And why would I go to a psychiatrist anyway? Fuck I need a psychiatrist for? I'm not going to the Democrats for a psychiatrist. I'm not going to the Republicans or Libertarians or the church, the mosque, the synagogues. Not only are they fucking wrong and they're out to get me, I've been criticizing them for fucking years. Fuck them! There is no such thing as a neutral psychiatrist in this situation. It's that simple. Boys, this video is about what brings about the end. I cannot allow myself to be tricked by a bunch of scum who want me to take their word for things, who put bread on a trail leading into a cage, while they try to hack my brain more and more in a society that plays stupid about brain hacking, even though there's thousands of witnesses to various gang stalking operations all over America alone, and have 23 witnesses on record to the operation against me. It's clear that I'm right. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence, but they play stupid. Point number one, I must put God first. I cannot allow myself to be enslaved by them in any shape or form. There's a difference between a detour and them enslaving me. For example, if every day they put a detour on the road and said, we're telling you which way to go. Are they doing something? No. That is a frat boy sissy trick. That is not them telling me what to do. That's just the obstacle course of the world. But if they hack my brain and try to make me broke, and try to confuse me to the best of their ability with fumes and poisons, there's only so long that a person of God can allow that to happen. 23 witnesses on record. If law enforcement hears this video and thinks, hey, we need to step in, they need to do a proper investigation. Test my car for substances, for fumes and poisons. Consider the evidence at my house before my house goes into foreclosure. If you don't do that, then you're not doing a good job. There's already attempts to cover up the evidence at my house. My old vehicle almost certainly will be sold or donated soon. My house will be foreclosed on soon. My parents' house. Lots of evidence will be gone. They're moving to Michigan, for goodness sake, on this trajectory. Pretty straightforward. People who are crazy and who are a threat to themselves and others, they don't talk sense. They don't talk moral precision. Open and shut. Point number two. Well, before we get to point number two, also consider that without my requirements met, true love won't be found with a suitable helper. Should the most righteous and most romantic person that ever lived in the wealthiest country in the world not have a suitable helper? That's not honoring God. You don't honor God by doing your best to dishonor God by the way you treat his son. So how long should I stick around for this nonsense? Point number 2, my age creates problems, as does the years of them messing up my brain in various ways, including brain hacking. The more I get old, the more my brain and body get worn out, the less likely I am to have a wife. Martial is marital scrambled, and Christ is the bridegroom. The word martial and marital are connected to masculinity and man and martyr. Being a man is the opposite of magic. Just because magic starts with an M, these people wish it had something to do with manhood. It doesn't. It is an obstacle. It is sissy stuff. It's psychology and chemistry and stupidity. Science is by betas who have never once, the nerd, according to nerds themselves, and it's a nerd science system to a large degree, it's scientific Satanism. The word nerd means foolish and contemptible, boringly studious. Ver in virtue means man. Nerd doesn't mean man. Ver in virtue means man. Is it wise to never grow up and to be foolish and contemptible and worthless? The highest form of intelligence is existential intelligence. How you know a nerd is an idiot is 1, he doesn't pursue the highest cause. 2, they often embrace privilege and playing the game. Okay? Think ways and paths and spectrums. 3, they like to use language, just like, these sophisticated nerds who get dressed up and try to pretend that they're better than nerds. They use language and white culture and where those things overlap with genes to feign intellectual supremacy for so-called, they use so-called linguistic intelligence. Now think about it. If you come from a long line of people that speak the language in a certain way and you've mastered the use of language over generations, it's in your genes, and when people kind of mimic how they talk, it's easier to speak. Yes, they do not have the capacity to characterize me correctly. They're insignificant, despicable, and horrid little men. And I'm astounded that any of you would take them seriously. So when you start talking like that, all of a sudden the language kind of rolls, off your tongue. Now imagine people who have been doing that for generations. Think about it. They put on a sort of fake person. The language is for people who are fake, who put on a theater arts show. Dionysus is like the god of their language. Ritual arts, madness. Theater arts, ritual madness, religious ecstasy. That kind of behavior. The Mad Hatter, as a scientist, as a politician, as a speaker. Point number 4. Using intellectual jargon to try to prevent people from wanting to discuss things is something that nerds like to do, right? You see them in their podcasts, right? Ben Shapiro, People more witty than that, using fancy words. Because as you go there and you see them use these fancy words, you say, well, how do I respond to that? And I don't want to sit there every 2 seconds and say, I don't know what that word means. Can you explain to me? Can you explain to me that word? And say, oh, you have to learn to speak, man. You see what I'm saying? And that people far more insightful, far more wise. People who pick far wiser paths than they do, which is the pinnacle of intelligence, wisdom. The path, the life. Not intellectual jargon and learning a bunch of insignificant stuff like how to knit, quantum physics, and on and on. Just useless stuff. That's only useful for people who will go into specific labors. You want to learn to knit? Okay. You learn to knit. You want to be a quantum physicist? You learn physics and you go deep into it and so on and so forth. But if you want to be wiser than people who spend their time doing those mere human sciences and arts and crafts, you focus on the purpose of life. For people who are smarter than scientists. The word smart is a universal word. Retard is red art, helping the wicked build their wicked society instead of focusing on the purpose of life. Retard, it's right there scrambled in the word, red art. It's an anagram. Okay. Point number 3. I cannot be in a worse situation than I was at the beginning of 2023 while I'm getting older and my brain's getting hacked. Am I doing God's work, or am I moving away from doing God's work, so to speak, in terms of actually going out there, winning people over, trying to reason with them? Okay, so if I'm not getting people to obey God through me, I need to at least be out there in a way out there as somebody who's not controlled or led by anybody, in a way that's presentable, with a certain ability to move, a certain financial freedom, if you will. But again, the money is not the problem. Okay? It's the society won't rally to me and stop trying to tell me what to do, to end gang stalking, okay, to bring me the compensation, just a component, but it's not the essence of the problem. Okay, money isn't everything. Okay, there's ways for me to get money. No doubt. If I want to, I'd go as far as if I wanted to, I could be rich within a couple years, I'd imagine. But I'm not willing to do the despicable things that dishonor God that would it take to do that. And that's where the problem is. I'm not going to dishonor God. My requirements are about honoring God, putting God first, dignity, a suitable helper that I deserve. I'm a grown man. I'm more desirable than anyone has ever lived because of my righteous worth. Character, the content of the character, focus, moral intensity, the fine linen that stands for the righteous acts of my life that go beyond everyone else's as the top martial artist ever possible. I will not be dishonored by females who are acting like lesser forms of life, who refuse to honor God's Son. I will not continue living life that way. People are tested by their praise. And even the authors of Psalm 45 know that I'm not supposed to settle. I'm not going to settle. The word set. Set is the counterpart for Baal, the main enemy of God in the Bible. I will not settle for your scales. For you people say, well, don't fat shame if you think she's that. Well, what's wrong with her? Do you think she's too skinny? She's too this, she's too that. My scale, not a bunch of liberals, communists, white supremacists, or anyone else, Jewish supremacists. Look, I want him to settle, so we look better than him. Okay, fuck all that shit. That's some bitch-ass fucking shit, and you know it. Urkel does not determine the scale of beauty, neither do white supremacists or anyone else. I determine the scale of beauty. And I will not be swayed by anyone, especially not the likes of you people. If you don't want to be talked to that way, don't do things that result in the wise man talking to you that way. I cannot be 43 or 44 in Michigan, bad health, poor, while the perps in the government, etc., act like complete racist, LGBT frat, dominatrix bitches trying to tell me what to do. Yes, bakers can't be choosers. Yes. Where these pink sweats? They're not tight. They show your ass. No, I'm not going to do that. That's dishonoring God. I can't be in this situation. I'm going back and forth with them about things like that instead of doing the work of God. It's not going to happen. If you think because you've screamed me out you've won, you are a dumb fuck. Why don't you go on TV, explain why I say that I'm the most righteous person with a universal scale, and explain why you think you won by screening me out. Explain why you think you did your family and society and humanity justice. You can't do it. Because you know that I'm right and that you're fucking wrong. That's why you've been hiding from my debate publicly. David was not afraid to face Goliath in single combat, yet you're afraid to exchange words with me. Spoken language, literal words with me in public. Because I am superior and I have triumphed over you motherfuckers. The Lord's right hand is lifted high while you cower behind the cover of night like a bitch. Changing my voice and trying to make it sound corny doesn't change the facts. They're changing my voice. In the name of God, I command you to consider what I'm saying and not them don't let changing my voice confuse you. It is serious. And they are bitches that resort to changing my voice instead of debate me publicly because they're tail tucked in their mosques, in their churches, in their synagogues, in their groups, in their atheist groups, in their national groups, you name it. Their racial groups. Tail fucking tucked. That's what they call honoring their ancestors, acting like frat bitches. How many of you want to be part of a group that acts like frat bitches and calls it honoring their ancestors? It's fucking pathetic. One of many reasons my kingdom is not of this world. And yes, it's worth yelling about when you're fumed and provoked and poisoned. Am I supposed to make 100 videos to make one video? When they provoke me and hack my fucking brain and trigger me? I'm supposed to put on a thong and meditate in a Buddhist temple? What are you, a fucking bitch? I will not back away from my masculinity for your fucking philosophies when you all hid from my challenge. Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Jew alike. Atheist, MMA fighters hid from my fucking challenges and my debates like fucking bitches. If I want to learn to hide like a bitch instead of being a man, maybe I'll follow you people, but I'm not going to want to learn that, will I? Because I'm the son of God. Like I got to explain this. You fucking pussies. Point number 4, they've even made it personal with me leading up to this. Point number 5, only someone who was among the 0.0001% of dumbest people ever would think that playing stupid, gang stalking, acting like homosexual Satanists, playing homosexual Satanist games, and screening out Jesus, in reality, the top martial artist ever, is worth their while. Clearly, it is fanatically stupid to follow them. So the bottom 0.0001%, if I'm correct here, is the bottom 80,000 people on the planet out of 8 billion. I think that's more or less right. A lot of them are retards in certain ways, what have you. It might be more than that. It might be more like 200,000. But there's not that many of them. And they're not that smart. And when you think about how stupid one would have to be, I mean, they're the dumbest when you look at it in terms of dumb actions. What's dumber than persecuting Jesus and giving the order, say, persecute him. These are our ways. What ways are dumber than that? And what people are dumber than the people who follow those ways? Nobody. But then there's also kind of brain function to consider, what have you. Now, if a dumb child molester who's literally slightly retarded hits a smart person in the head with a hammer, and then that dumb child molester's brain function seems to be functioning better, does he have bragging rights? No. He's a fucking dumber bitch than he was before. And all he did is hammer the head of somebody who's smarter than he is and naturally superior to him, whose path is superior. What good does that do? The type of people persecuting me don't understand that. They're some kind of nerd bitches, some kind of arrogant, crest-wearing fucking pussies who think because they wear a fancy fucking suit that they're important. Thank God I'm not a bitch who thinks because he wears a fancy suit and sabotages everyone that he's magically and fucking important. It's fucking pathetic. That is, you're better off being on all fours, living in a doghouse, eating dog food, and licking water from a dog fucking bowl than being that type of a fucking bitch. I challenge you to do a debate on that. Point number 6. Even in their book, the Bible, it says that the fear of man will prove to be a snare. I refuse to be in a situation where they try to create and use fear with technology to make me their slave. It would not be a righteous decision if I choose to do that. Point number 7. Clearly better than being a fairy church martyr is the way that monotheistic, mature, man, male, masculine, martial, marital, and martyr are connected. They do not even have humanity, as what they are doing is inhuman. Therefore, they are inhuman beasts. The Son of God will never follow inhuman beasts or anyone else. It is one thing for them to play stupid detour games. It is another thing for them to try to get me to follow them by hacking their brain over a long period of time. At some point, enough will be enough, and time will be called on this trajectory. 23 witnesses. With just one witness to someone shooting at somebody, okay, and then firing back to defend themselves. One can prove that they are not crazy. Hey, that person saw it that way too. Imagine 23 witnesses to the psychological operation against me. They're attacking me with psyops, fuming and poisoning me, and I have witnesses. If I chose to stop everything and go out in a blaze of fucking glory, not only would I be right in the eyes of God, but on the lesser level, according to the law, I would be justified. 23 fucking witnesses. Think about it. Just because they're sniveling racist, white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacist court systems wouldn't acknowledge the overwhelming amount of proof that I've given doesn't mean that their law technically is saying that I have a right to defend myself. And somebody got hit in the crossfire, whose fucking fault is it? Now, do I plan to do a mass shooting? No. But you all need to understand that. Even if I plan to kill somebody or kill myself, which I'm not at liberty to say at this point, but I will say I have no plan to be a terrorist or do a mass shooting. Even if I plan that, I would be justified. Look at the situation. If somebody has you in a meat grinder and you have a gun with one bullet and you shoot yourself in the head, are you fucking crazy? No. If a bunch of people are fuming you every day, mocking you, talking about how they're going to kill you eventually, and everyone's playing stupid, if you went and grabbed one by the neck and pistol whipped that fucking geek till they're dead, would you be wrong? No. Is my anger the problem? Or is the fucking cowardice of law enforcement that turns their back on 23 fucking witnesses when pointed out to them time and time again? And chopping it up to minor traffic fucking infractions. That's the fucking problem. My anger is justified. Your cowardice is not.